All right, well, thanks everyone for having me. And I'd like to start with a confession. And that confession is that I'm a big nerd. I'm a big nerd because I love math, actually. And it's been a theme throughout my life. In high school, I was a captain of the county math team. In college, I was in the Engineering Honor Society. And after grad school, as we said, I started an SAT prep company, a company that builds math software. So it was a little wonder that 3 years ago, I met this really beautiful woman, and I started talking about math. And I was like, math is awesome. And she was like, no, math is really not awesome. I hate math, as she said. And so I had to get to the bottom of this. And so I spent the last couple of years trying to get to the bottom of why we hate math and how we actually learn to hate math, and use these two words very deliberately. Hate because math often elicits a very emotional response from people. And learn because it's not something fixed. It's something I do believe that we learn. We learn to hate math. And so we're going to talk about some of the basis for that. And I'll start with a question. I'd like a show of hands. Has anyone in this audience been to a restaurant and had the bill come and say, can somebody help me with the tip? Or seen somebody say, can you help me calculate the tip? All right, we see a number of people. So it's a very common occurrence. How many times have you been to a restaurant and seen somebody say, can you help me read this menu? Not usually, right? It's very, very uncommon. So why is it that we feel okay asking for help with a math concept that's at the 3rd or 4th grade level, but don't feel any discomfort asking for, or we feel discomfort asking for help with reading concepts at the 3rd or 4th grade level, feel no discomfort asking for help with math concepts? And so turns out, and what we've found is that we kind of learn to hate math in middle school. Oh, I have the clicker. Approximately 10% of 6th graders report hating math, but the number jumps to 20% by 8th grade. So from kindergarten through 5th grade, you've got 5 years to choose to like or dislike certain subjects. We get to 10%, and then in 2 years, that jumps to 20%. It doubles. It's pretty crazy, right? So we wanted to go and take a look at why this might be the case. And we came up with 3 potential answers. One of them is because the whole sort of process is set up in a way that it's difficult to not have this happen. The second reason is because of our general attitudes, and there's a feedback loop about discomfort with math and a dislike for math. And the third thing has to do with one of the basic tools of math instruction, which is homework. Okay, we're gonna talk about all 3 of them. The first thing, the system is out to get you. You know, I know it's something that people have probably long suspected, but in this case, there's actually some basis for truth in that. The system may in fact be out to get you. If you look at elementary school, K through 5, and the middle school, K through 8, there's one very significant difference between elementary ed and middle school ed. In elementary school, you have one teacher who teaches you all of your subjects. When you get to middle school, you now have a single subject teacher. And that actually has a very, very critically important effect on your attitudes towards math. And we're going to talk about what some of those effects are. The first thing that we need to recognize is that math is cumulative, and it's difficult. If you miss a 2nd grade, a 3rd grade, or a 4th grade standard, it makes the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade standards very, very inaccessible. It makes it very challenging to catch up. So what can we do about that? And what are some of the things that might help? Well, let's talk about our teachers. 10.2% of elementary school teachers studied math or a math-related field in their undergraduate. Now, elementary school teachers teach a variety of subjects. They teach reading, they teach math, they teach history, they teach social studies, they teach science. But 10% of them have actually studied and had enough passion, enough interest in a math or math-related discipline that they chose it as their undergraduate institution, which means that 89.8% don't. Now, the main point behind this is that if you have from K through 5 elementary school teachers who might not be as engaged with math as I am, there is certainly the possibility that you're going to develop skill gaps along the way. As you go from 2nd grade to 3rd grade to 4th grade, you might miss something along the way. And if you miss something along the way, it won't be highlighted until you get to middle school, because you're not getting that single subject approach until you're in middle school. Secondly, language is everywhere. It's very, very hard to not get language because language is everywhere. And math is not. Okay? Math is not in every subject that you're involved in. In history and science, there's always reading. There's always language. Outside of school, there's always reading. There's always language. And what it ends up doing is it ends up creating a sort of a deceptive challenge for us. And that challenge is this, is that we all recognize inherently that letters are not the same as language, because you can read the word and you can pronounce it doesn't mean you understand the language. Everyone has seen something written in a foreign language where the characters are the same, and we inherently get that. But sometimes we don't get that when it comes to numbers. We'll read numbers, we'll think we get numbers, we can compare numbers, and we equate that with math. And in fact, it can be a very, very dangerous thing. I'm going to go through an example to show what a dangerous thing this could be. You know, many of you guys are going to college, you'll come out, and a nice starting salary for somebody coming out of college is $40,000. School costs have gotten astronomically high in the last few years, like truly astronomically high. When I started at the University of Maryland, it was $1,500 a year for in-state tuition. If you go to a top-notch college, et cetera, you very well might come out with between $100,000 and $200,000 in total student loans. Okay, so that's something that's changed quite a bit over the years. So let's say I gave you a chance. You could say, all right, I want to boost my salary by 20%, or I want to drop my student loan rate by 3.5%. Many people will look at these numbers and they'll be like, well, 20% is bigger than 3.5%, so I'm going to go with the 20%. That's great. I'll take my 20% of my salary. But some people might say, well, you're trying to trick me, Ramit. 20% of $40,000 is actually $8,000. 3.5% of $100,000. I know percents. That's $3,500. Okay, I'm still going to go with the salary number. Okay? But if you actually do the calculation, the way that compound interest works over the 20-year life of a loan is that if you chose that $8,000 salary increase, you'd get another $8,000 on your salary. But if you dropped your interest rate from 7.5% to 4%, over the life of the loan, you would actually pay $48,000 less. And so we go out there and we fight and we struggle for $8,000, and then don't fight and don't struggle and may forget to refinance our student loans to save $48,000. This compound interest, this phenomenon, this understanding of math is so pervasive. That's one of the big reasons we got into this mortgage crisis that you may have heard about, right? People didn't fundamentally understand the loans that they were getting. These things are very, very complicated, and companies are not incentivized to make them easy to understand. They're in fact incentivized to do just the opposite. So, I know I looked around the group, I saw a lot of you look at all these numbers, and I saw some anxiety there, right? People look at these things like, well, how did you calculate it? And it was crazy. Okay, well, you know what? This kind of thing does actually generate a lot of anxiety. And that's the second point, okay? We're scared of math because we're scared of math. It's a feedback loop that's constantly going, okay? Mathaphobic teachers like myself, this is from an article written by a middle school math teacher. Mathaphobic teachers like myself may be unaware that just a lack of interest in mathematics may be hurtful. Young children tend to internalize their teacher's enthusiasm or lack thereof. Now, here's another thing. I've taught thousands and thousands of kids, and as I said, I love math. So when they come to me, I've heard so many kids say, you know what, I'm not a math person, Ramit. I'm not a numbers person. I'm creative. I'm right brain, okay? You don't just come up with that out of nowhere. Somebody, somewhere along the way told them, you're not a numbers person. You're not a math person. That beautiful person who I actually ended up marrying is sitting in the audience. I told her. She tells me I'm not a numbers person. That's because somebody has told her along the way that she's not a numbers person. That's a really, really, really bad and a really scary thing, because you only need to be told that once to excuse yourself from the hard work of engaging in math for the rest of your life. Okay? So let's talk about their teachers. We talked about 10.2% of elementary school teachers have math degrees. Well, 35.3% of middle school teachers have math degrees, which, well, math is one subject and it's many subjects, so that's not that crazy, until we learn that, in fact, it's 35% of middle school math teachers have math degrees. Okay? So does this by no means mean that they're credentialed in math, but it speaks to what was interesting enough that it got them to study that in college, math or math-related degree, only 35.3% of people. What about in the general population? In 1970 to 71, 11.48% of people got a math or math-related undergraduate degree. By 2007, 2008, that number had dropped to 7.74%. And again, we have some deceptive numbers here, right? 11.5 going down to 7. That doesn't seem like that big a deal. But if you look at the percentage drop, if all the white dots represented people who would have gotten a math degree or math-related degree in 1970 to 71, all the blue dots have gotten knocked out. Almost a third, 32.6% of the people, fewer people are getting math degrees. And you can see that this is a loop that's going to continue. As people get more and more uncomfortable with math, they pass that uncomfortable with math attitude on to their kids. And that's a very, very, very dangerous thing overall. All right, next thing we want to talk about is homework. Okay, homework is medieval torture. We had these, the unschoolers building a medieval siege engine. You guys do medieval stuff every day. University of Bologna, 1088, first university in the world. Do you know what the general setup was in that university? You had a lecturer, and you had a group of kids, group of students, sitting in a class. That hasn't changed in 900 years. Is that weird to anyone but me? 900 years, and the basic lecture-student format hasn't changed. We added homework somewhere along the way. Hey, I can't teach you everything I need to teach you. You need to go home and practice. We come up with this amazing new thing, homework, and boom, now we've got homework, and it's become a part of our lives since the Middle Ages. Now, we talked a bit about homework before, and let's talk some more about homework. Who loves homework? Teachers. Teachers do not love homework, I can assure you. Dr. Pope certainly does not love homework, right? Teachers do not love homework. Why? Because they assign the homework, and then they might spend 6, 8, 10 hours a week grading the homework and grading it for completion, right? You guys, I mean, all of you guys know what kind of homework you do and how much homework you do. The kinds of feedback that you can't get the kind of feedback that you need on that homework. All you're getting is a check, check plus, check minus. And that's because there's just not enough hours in the day for the teachers to give you the kind of feedback that they would like to give you. What about students? A lot of students in the audience. Show of hands. Who loves homework? Oh, there's usually one. Somebody. No? All right. Good. No, students don't love homework for obvious reasons. Who loves homework? Nobody wants to go home and do homework. But the main reason is because homework can be a very, very, very frustrating activity. And we'll talk about why that is. What about parents? Do parents love homework? No, parents don't want to see their kids with their noses stuck in a book for 3.5 hours. Thank you. For 3.5 hours a night, every night. That's horrible. Look at this. From 1981 to 2004, the amount of time spent on homework went up by about 51%. It's been this massive increase in the amount of time the kids spend doing homework. So what's happened? Have we gotten? Thank you. So what's happened? Have we gotten better? Have we gotten more effective? No. 4th and 8th grade students in the U.S. have improved their math scores marginally since 1995, so the dates are a little off. Up about 2% for 4th graders and 3% for 8th graders. So you're spending 50% more time doing homework, but we're not getting the benefit from it. Why? Well, it's because of the way that homework works and what homework actually is. Oop, I missed. How do I go back? All right, well, you guys get it. It said, I do, we do, and you do. That's the homework modality. The teacher teaches it. We'll do one together, and then you go home and do it. This is the problem. The you do is the problem. Why? Because when you are at home trying to struggle your way through the odd problems at the end of the chapter, you might be having difficulty not because you don't know the 7th or the 8th grade concept that you're studying, but because you don't know the 3rd or the 4th grade concept. And your textbook, by definition, is a 7th or an 8th grade textbook. How frustrating is that? You don't have the tools you need to answer your questions. So who do? You call your parents? Maybe your parents don't know that math and they're not that comfortable with it. You call your teacher? Maybe. I mean, it's a very, very difficult thing. What are you supposed to do? So what do? You close the book, you say, I hate math, and you go out and you play ball with your friends. This is an example of how things build. We did our example earlier. It was a compound interest example, right? Compound interest, 7th grade, number strand. These are California standards. But look where they build. You need to represent money in 2nd grade, fractions and decimals in 3rd grade, operations in 3rd grade, converting decimals in 4th grade, understanding percents, calculating percents. Many of the skill gaps, most of the skill gaps are here in this 4th and 5th grade, understanding decimals and how do you convert it to a percentage. You're trying to do compound interest. The teachers might as well be speaking Greek. You have no idea what they're talking about and no way of figuring it out. So this is where, I point that way. This is where software can be really, really useful because this is now 2010. Big, big difference from the medieval times. What we can do is we can take a question, and if a student gets it wrong, you can deconstruct that question. And you can say, all right, I'm going to walk you through the process of learning this thing. What is the process? OK, compound interest. First thing, convert this into a decimal. That's your first concept. If you can't convert it into decimal, you're missing that first concept. Boom, you can get a lecture right there. You can go and look online, and you can find other resources. You can find a video. Maybe you got the first concept but missed the second one. OK, you get the first one, missed the second one. It'll give you feedback on the second concept. You need to be able to have the tools to be able to get the feedback and to get the resources you need at the time you need. Homework right now doesn't give you that. It's a really terrible thing. Concept 3, and then you reconstruct. You can rebuild your learning from those basic building blocks, okay? Teachers also. Imagine trying to fly a plane where you had 2 dials, a dial that said how high you are, or up versus down, and a dial that said how fast you were going. Anyone who's seen the inside of a plane cockpit, you have hundreds of dials. As a teacher, you don't have that with your students. What you primarily have is how much they completed their homework and the look that you're getting, the feedback that you're getting when you're teaching something to see if somebody understands. The best teachers are very good at reading those subtle cues. This would put extremely clear data into the hands of teachers. And that's really what software is and where software needs to be going. So if we had homework that did that gave teachers what they needed and gave students what they needed at their point of need, who would love it? Would teachers love it? Yeah, sure, teachers would love it because they would be getting the information they needed to guide instruction. What about students? Students would love it because now it wouldn't be this incredibly frustrating activity. And parents would love it because students would spend less time doing the homework and they would get better results. So do we all love homework? Probably not. I mean, it is still homework, right? I mean, let's be honest. The last thing I will say is this. Expect more. Expect more of yourselves, expect more of each other, expect more of your children. Challenge yourselves to do the hard work of engaging with math wherever you find it and not running away from it. Because particularly at the age that many of you guys are, if you start a pattern of running away from math instead of engaging with math, I can assure you that will never stop and you will run your whole lives. So make your stand now and expect more of yourselves and expect more of each other. So, thank you.